After my sister's divorce, I let her and her kids move into my house. I gave them my bedroom, slept on the couch, and paid every bill. One morning, I came home from work to find my locks changed. She opened the door just enough to say, "It's better this way. The kids need stability." My favorite chair was on the curb. My photos were gone. "You never really needed this place like we do," she added. I slept in my car that night. 3 weeks later, she sent me an invitation to her housewarming party at my house. I want to tell you about the time I let my sister and her kids stay with me. I gave them everything. My room, my bed. I paid every single bill. Then one morning, I came home from work and I was locked out. She said, "It's better this way. The kids need stability." And just like that, I was out on the street. 3 weeks later, she had the nerve to send me an invitation to a housewarming party at my house. Here's how it happened. I live in Dayton, Ohio. Born and raised. I work night shifts at a manufacturing plant. It's hard work, but it pays the bills. I own a small house on the west side that my grandfather left me after he passed. It's nothing fancy, 3 bedrooms, a little yard, an old oak tree out front, but it was mine. I kept it clean. I liked my quiet. Then Dana called. She was sobbing. Said her husband kicked her out, and she had nowhere to go with her 2 kids. I'd always been the responsible one in the family, so I did what everyone expected. I said yes. I told her to come stay with me. I moved into the living room so they could have the master bedroom. I gave her the bed, the closet, even the damn en-suite bathroom. I figured she just needed a few months to figure things out. She never even offered to help pay for groceries. At first, I didn't complain. She was family. I thought I was doing the right thing. But slowly, things started to feel off. She stopped looking for work. Said she needed time to heal. Her kids were messy and loud, but I let it slide. Then I noticed my stuff was disappearing. Family photos I had in frames? Gone. My recliner? One morning I saw it on the curb like trash. When I asked her about it, she said, "It was old. We need more room for the kids." That was my chair. The one my granddad gave me when I moved in. Still, I let it go. I kept telling myself, she's just going through a hard time. She'll get it together. I was wrong. That morning, I'll never forget it. I got off my shift early. I'd picked up donuts on the way home, thinking I'd surprise the kids. I pulled into the driveway and immediately noticed something was off. The curtains were different. My flag wasn't in the window. And when I went to unlock the door, my key didn't work. I stood there, dumbfounded. Tried again. Nothing. Then the door opened a crack. Dana looked at me like I was the mailman or something. "What's going on?" I asked. "I changed the locks," she said flatly. I thought I misheard her. "You what?" "It's better this way," she said. "The kids need stability." I laughed. It was all I could do. "Dana, this is my house." "You never really needed it," she said. "We're a family. We need a real home." She looked me in the eye like she was the victim. I was so stunned I couldn't even speak. Before I could respond, she added, "You'll figure it out." "You always do," and closed the door in my face. I stood there like an idiot. I didn't have a spare key. I didn't have friends nearby. I had the clothes on my back, my wallet, my car. I slept in my car that night, in the parking lot behind a CVS. My back was killing me the next morning. I hadn't felt that kind of anger before. It was the kind that simmers, doesn't explode, just builds. I tried to call her. She didn't answer. Then I saw she'd blocked me on Facebook. I texted her. No reply. Nothing. I spoke with a lawyer. Turns out the house was still in probate. My granddad left it to me in his will, but I hadn't finished the paperwork. That gave her enough wiggle room to file some emergency tenant paperwork with the county. Claimed she'd been living there for months. Said I abandoned the place. I could fight it, but it'd take time. And money. So I waited. Then, 3 weeks after she locked me out, I got an envelope. Fancy gold trim. Inside was a card, Dana's housewarming party. Come celebrate our new beginning. At my house. I stared at that card for a long time. I don't know how to explain it, but something inside me changed. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to take everything back calmly, quietly. And I wasn't just taking the house. I was going to take her sense of safety. I was going to take the lies she built and tear them down in front of everyone she knew. I had a plan, and it started with going to that party. The party was on a Saturday. I spent the entire week before it getting ready. First, I got copies of everything: my grandfather's will, the tax records, the utility bills in my name. I went down to the courthouse and filed a motion to expedite the probate. Cost me $300 I didn't really have, but it was worth it. I started the process of getting her claim removed. That would take time, though. So in the meantime, I decided to hit her where it hurt most: her image. Dana always cared more about how things looked than how they really were. She liked being the strong single mom, the survivor, the one who held her family together. She never mentioned who actually paid for that roof she slept under. Saturday came. I pulled up to my house around 6 p.m. wearing a clean pair of jeans and a gray button-down. My boots were polished. I brought a bottle of wine I got from a gas station and a smile that wasn't real. The place looked different. She'd painted the shutters blue, hung a wreath on the door. I could hear music and laughter from the backyard. I walked up the steps and knocked. For a second, I didn't think she'd open the door. But then she did, and when she saw me, her face dropped. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "I got your invitation," I said. "Would have been rude not to come." She looked behind her. "This isn't a good time." "Yeah," I said, stepping past her. "That's what you said when you locked me out of my own house." People were in the kitchen, sipping wine, talking. I saw a few familiar faces, her friends from work, some distant cousins. They looked confused when they saw me. Dana followed close behind me like she was waiting for me to cause a scene. I didn't. Instead, I walked to the middle of the living room, where my chair used to be, and clinked my wine bottle against a glass. "Hey everyone," I said, loud enough to quiet the room. "Thanks for coming out tonight. Dana's been through a lot lately. Divorce, single mom stuff, you know. But I think it's important we all raise a glass to the real hero here, me." Some people laughed awkwardly. Dana looked like she was about to scream. I'm the guy who gave up his bedroom for her and her kids. The guy who paid every bill while she looked for work. The guy who came home one day to find the locks changed on his own house. Someone gasped. A few people started whispering. She told me I never really needed this place. But here she is throwing a party in it. Funny, right? "Get out," Dana snapped. Her face was red. Her hands were shaking. I ignored her. "You want stability for your kids, Dana? That's fine. But you don't get to steal someone's home and pretend you earned it. The paperwork's in motion. The house is legally mine. And soon, you're going to be the one looking for somewhere to sleep." She stepped closer. "You can't do this here. You did it to me. In front of your kids, while I was working night shifts to pay for the lights you leave on all day." That's when her oldest son walked into the room. "Mom," he said, "what's going on?" Dana turned and forced a smile. "Nothing, baby. Just a misunderstanding." The kid looked at me. "Why did you leave your stuff here if you moved out?" I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. Let the silence sit there. People were uncomfortable now. One woman left. A couple more followed. Dana's little house of lies started crumbling, just from me telling the truth. But I wasn't done yet. I left before she could throw me out, but I made sure everyone saw what kind of person she really was. That was just the start. The next day, I sent a formal eviction notice. Yes, you can evict squatters in Ohio once ownership is proven or even pending under probate. She tried to ignore it. So I escalated. I called child services. And I wasn't lying, I told them exactly what I knew. That she left her kids alone while she went on dates. that she drank during the day, that she hadn't had a steady job in almost a year. They opened a case. She found out 2 days later. Called me screaming, "You're trying to ruin my life." "No," I said calmly. "I'm just giving you a taste of what you did to me." After I reported her to Child Services, things moved fast. 2 days later, a county social worker showed up at the house. I wasn't there to see it, but a friend of mine who lives down the street said Dana lost it. Started screaming on the porch. The kids were crying. They didn't take them away, not yet, but they opened an investigation. She texted me one word that night. "Why?" I didn't answer. Then she started pushing back. The next week, I found out she filed for a protection order against me. Claimed I was harassing her and threatening her safety. Said I had a history of aggression and emotional abuse. Total lies. I went to court, stood in front of the judge, and calmly handed over every receipt, every text, every utility bill. Even the video from the party, where I never touched her, never raised my voice. The judge saw right through her. Order denied. But something about that whole move, the false accusations, the manipulation, it made something snap in me again. She wasn't just desperate. She was dangerous. I started digging deeper. A buddy of mine works at a credit union. I asked him to quietly check on Dana's situation. Turns out, she had over $12,000 in credit card debt. And she'd opened 2 new cards since moving into my house. One of them used my address as the billing address. I took that straight to the county clerk and filed a report. Identity fraud. Meanwhile, I kept pushing the probate. Sent follow-ups to the court weekly. I even met with the lawyer handling my grandfather's estate and offered to pay for the remaining fees out of pocket. Then something strange happened. I came back to my car one morning after work and found an envelope tucked under the windshield. It was a handwritten note from Dana. It said, "If you keep going, I'll tell the kids you hurt me. I'll tell everyone you're a danger. Don't test me." I stared at that note for a long time. It was the ugliest threat I'd ever seen. She wasn't just trying to ruin my life. She was willing to destroy her kids' trust, their image of me, just to keep control. I made a copy. Took it straight to my lawyer. Then I called her bluff. The next day, I filed a temporary restraining order against her. Based on her written threat. Based on her trying to destroy my credit. Based on her false police report. I wasn't going to be silent anymore. And then I got the call. The house was officially mine. The probate judge signed off, finalized the title, and had it transferred to my name. I had legal grounds to evict her. But I didn't rush. I waited. Waited until the kids were at school. Then I showed up with a sheriff, a locksmith, and the court order in hand. She answered the door in a bathrobe. When she saw the papers, she turned white. "You're throwing me out," she whispered. "No," I said. "The law is. You're heartless." "No. I just finally stopped letting you walk all over me." As the locksmith drilled the lock, she stood on the porch and cried. Not the fake kind this time. Real tears. Real fear. I didn't feel good about it. But I felt right. I watched Dana leave with a single suitcase and no plan. The sheriff gave her 30 minutes to grab her things. I didn't stop her when she tried to take the kids' beds or the dishes I bought. I just stood there, arms crossed, and watched her carry out what little she had. As the sheriff shut the door behind her, the silence hit me. It wasn't peace. Not yet. The place smelled like lavender spray and cheap perfume. Every picture on the wall was of her and her kids. Every trace of me, every photo, every memory, every piece of my life was gone. She had tried to erase me. So I started over. I took 2 weeks off work. Ripped every curtain down. Painted the walls. Replaced every bed, every towel, every piece of furniture. Not out of spite, out of need. Then came the final strike. I filed civil charges for the damages she caused. For the months of unpaid utilities. For the stolen mail. For the fraudulent credit cards. I didn't do it to get rich. I did it to make sure her next landlord saw that lawsuit when they ran her background check. She didn't show up in court. The judge ruled in my favor by default. $8,142. She didn't have it. I knew that. So I went after her tax return. I filed a garnishment. Took every cent she got that year. My lawyer said she cried in his office. And just when I thought it was over, I made one last move. Remember that threat she wrote me? If you keep going, I'll tell the kids you hurt me. I still had that. I made a copy. I didn't send it to the police. I sent it to her ex-husband, the father of her kids, the one who'd been fighting for joint custody. He filed a motion the next month. Took her to court with my letter as evidence of manipulation and emotional abuse. He got 50-50 custody. Maybe more now. She lost primary placement. And me? I came home one day to an empty house, sat down in my new chair, and for the first time in months, I exhaled. I should have seen it sooner. I should have never let her in without boundaries. Never trusted that someone broken wouldn't break everything around them. But I also saw what I was capable of. That when pushed hard enough, I'd fight back. I didn't just get my house back. I took back my name, my dignity, my place in this world. And I left her standing in the cold, exactly where she left me. Only difference? She had it coming.